McAllister still going strongly in the closing minutes. Great run by Kevin McAllister! What a goal that is! Delivery's good, there's Hagan. Now McMillan, he scored!
It's Stokes on a hat-trick! Goal number 3 for Anthony Stokes.
Ralston saw off Robertson and delivered! Sibbald scores! That's the goal! That's the moment! Samuel off and running again. Is it going to be the hat-trick? You know it is.
So, we're here now, it's 2 days after the semi-final, and how are we feeling out there? I've just about calmed down, I have to admit. I think in the stages of grief, I'm now on to acceptance. I'm John McAnally, and I'm joined by Mr. Ross Wayne, as ever, for this week's Falkirk Daft. Ross, how are you feeling after Saturday?
I'm alright, actually, mate. You know, I was surprisingly okay after the game, to be honest. I think I'd had kind of set myself up in my mind that we might not get through, because obviously, as a higher blah blah blah, higher placed team, etc., etc. But it would have been nice. But then, obviously, the flip side is, yeah, as we saw on Sunday, Celtic have obviously got through, and I wouldn't want to be used as some sort of dildo by Celtic. So
this is true. This is true. I mean, I think immediately after the game, I kind of posted on our social media. It was like we didn't turn up, but on assessment, looking back, hearing what everyone else has had to say, I think I was just angry at the time, and we'll get into the game and everything around it. But yeah, I think I've kind of accepted that, you know, we just got beaten by the better team on the day now, you know?
Well, they were clinical. I don't know if they were defensively decent because we barely tested them. When we did get up top, it was our own failings that meant we didn't score. So I've no idea how defensively great they were. But there was mistakes all over the park. But I know you're right. We'll get into it, and we've obviously got our guest pundit coming on as well, so we'll save it for that. But I think, a missed opportunity on Saturday is probably
I would say, I mean, the great thing about it, I mean, it's just the build up to it. It felt like a real cup tie, you know. We were obviously out doing our media thing, Ross, because suddenly there's a Falkirk podcast, so the BBC and the likes have all sort of got in contact with us. We were on Reporting Scotland, I was on BBC Radio Scotland, you were on Global and Capital and all that sort of stuff. But no, the build up, I mean, you saw all the interviews, just everything around the club. You know, it was just a great buzz around it, you know, going to the game. Certainly I went end up in the counting house before it. It was absolutely jumping. Got the train through from Larbert, that was jumping as well. You know, the train's packed out to Mount Florida. You went on the supporters bus?
Yeah, I agree with you, John. I thought the build up last week was absolutely fantastic. There was just a proper, it was great to see like a proper buzz about the town again, and it was across the town as well. It wasn't just in like the usual haunts. Absolutely buzzing, flags everywhere, Falkirk colours everywhere. It was just brilliant to see. And as you say, like trains, buses, cars, minibuses, you name it, it was like a convoy heading through to Glasgow on Saturday. And I really just hope, because 9,000, just under 9,000 to have went through, hopefully the vast majority stick with the team between now and the playoffs as well. And you know, there's always some day trippers, but hopefully the vast majority stick with the team through the playoffs. It would be amazing to sell at the home game coming up, and I'm sure we'll take a right big crowd, whether it's at Airdrie or Alloa as well.
How was Alex after it? Because I mean, the thing is, I feel bad. We've been at a few of these games where, you know, I guess you think of the Hibs semi-final, you think of some of the big games where you get back on that supporters bus, and I think there's no worse thing than getting stuck on a supporters bus on the way back from a defeat. It's just a horrible, especially when you the Scottish Cup semi. But I mean, I just decided, right, I'm just getting pissed. I went up in the international bar down near Hampden. There was a whole bunch of Inverness supporters in there, so that was fun. And then just end up going on a wee pub crawl around Glasgow, because I was just like, right, there's only one thing for it, just a couple of drinks, you know.
No, Elliot's was really busy. I would suggest the vast majority of the buses that went from there went back in. It was like 10 deep at the bar. However, what was probably the funny part was all the people just out for a bit of lunch. There was loads of tables of older variety of women just out for lunch, and they didn't expect 200 people to then storm the pub. And there was like loads of people just saying, "Where's my dessert?" And you're like, "Listen, hen, I've got 10 tenants on the go here. Wait, last day you get poured, you'll get your pudding in a minute, you know." So it was just absolute carnage. But the atmosphere was okay. I think there was a general feeling, though, John, that see if we didn't have the playoffs coming up, I do wonder if the atmosphere might have been a wee bit different. Like, I think everybody was of the same opinion. We're a bit annoyed as to how we played. We didn't take our chances. We didn't defend well. Bar a couple of players, they were all having an off day, which we knew we couldn't do. We talked about it during the week. I can't remember which one of the media outlets we were talking to, but we said we had to be on our A game. We needed Inverness not to do what they had been doing in the last 6 or 7 games. Yeah. But unfortunately they did. And we kind of took our form since there into the game as well. So just not good enough, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. But one thing, it was great to see everyone with the bucket hats, the Falkirk Daft bucket hats. Saw a good few. Managed to shift I had 5 left over, and I wish I'd taken more, but I was on the train the way through. Managed to shift them all before I even got into Glasgow.
Brilliant. No, it was great. As I know we put something on the socials this morning as well, but we were getting tagged in loads of photos. But yeah, it was great to see loads and loads of people wearing them at Hampden. Do you know what annoyed me a little bit? Because obviously you've got these, as there always is at Hampden games, whether it's Scotland or Cup finals, you have all these Ouija street sellers selling all their tat, and they were obviously selling bucket hats, which is absolutely fine by them, but they were really basic. I think it was just had Falkirk written across it, obviously, because they don't want to infringe on trademarked logos and stuff. But there was hundreds of them, and you just think, come on, guys, if you buy the club stuff or you buy our stuff, some of the money is going to the club. These guys put no money into Falkirk Football Club, or indeed any of the clubs that they sell their tat to. So if the plea from me is, see if these guys, I'm sure they will be wanting to shift what they didn't sell on Saturday at the playoff games coming up. Don't buy from them, buy for the club, and at least some of the money's going to the football club rather than these guys. So there's my plea. But we've not got many left. We've only got a handful left online, so I'm sure they'll go hopefully between now and the playoffs.
Absolutely. Something else that's happening. Russell Attapay night come to the Dobby Hall. Now, all went a bit quiet on it. It's now happening. You might have seen on our socials. Russell did a very special message ahead of the semi-final for the team. But yeah, me and Ross have now confirmed that we're going to be hosting that at the Dobby Hall on the 22nd of June. Should be a cracking night. All the details are below if you want to get a ticket to come and see the magician in action. And I'm already nervous about it, I have to say. Being in the presence of a legend, and having to ask him questions, I'm really looking forward to it. And we'll be looking for probably your questions as well on this podcast as we get near the time. Ross, are you in the same position as me?
Well, if you're nervous, I'm exceptionally nervous because you're at least a professional in this game, whereas my arse will just be making buttons for days.
It'll be fine.
But no, listen, it'll be amazing. I can't remember wee Russell being back in Falkirk since he played with the club. Really, I don't recall him coming along to the stadium. He's obviously been out of the country for a long time as well, but it'll be amazing to see him back in the town. It sounds like there's hundreds of tickets already sold, which is brilliant. I think he just said there was limited tickets left, isn't it? So if anybody does want to go, we've shared the link. I'm sure we'll put it in the
description,
comments here as well. So yeah, have a look to see what he can do. It's going to be a brilliant night. And if nothing else, we'll hear some amazing stories from the wee man, both on the field and off the field, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Who's going to dare ask him about Jordan?
Someone has to.
We'll flip a coin on that one. All right, lookalikes. We've been looking for your lookalikes for members of the squad who look like celebrities. A few people have been in touch. Graham is. Now, I'm not familiar with the work of this guy, but YouTuber Zealand Shannon, who's specialised in Football Manager, apparently looks like Brad Mackay. Thanks to Graham, who has pointed that out. You'll see that on your screen if you're watching the YouTube version now. And then we've also got Brian Flynn from Behind the Wall, who has said that, and now I see it, I didn't see it at first, but I see it now. He thinks that the skipper, Stephen McGinn, looks a bit like Bobby from Scot Squad.
It does a bit. The beard kind of throws it off a little bit, but top half, yeah, it could be one of them again.
I could see that. Officer Karen. And then finally we've got one of the coaches from Falkirk has been in touch, and that is Crawford Bell, who coaches under 18s, and he keeps getting compared to Ange Postecoglou, and I can see that as well. So if you're down near the club and you got kids in the under 18s or whatever, or if you're one of the under 18s, Big Ange is at Falkirk now.
Listen, see if he has a smidgen of the success that Ange Postecoglou seems to be having. I'll take that every day of the week.
Absolutely.
From that perspective. See, just going back to the Brad Mackay one, the beard's the same. I'm not sure, and the hairline's the same, but I'm not really sure about the face in between, to be honest.
No, so we're still looking for lookalikes. Get them in on the socials. So if there's anyone that you've saw in the Falkirk squad went, that looks like such and such, get them into us. We'd love to see them on the podcast next week. Our resident Stato, Donald Johnson, says, I love Donald's stats. He just gets in touch with us from time to time about games and what have you. He says, not sure if this is any interest of you, but I have the attendances for all the home league games this season. The average home attendance is 4,096, which is really good, actually. Biggest was obviously against Dunfermline. The first game, 7,279. The smallest was against Alloa, 3,287. Total attendance over all 18 games was 73,731. Other than Dundee and Dunfermline, we have the biggest league attendances out with the SPL. There you go.
There we go. No, that's that brilliant stat from Donald, as always. Doesn't shock me. We're obviously a very well. The fans have been absolutely brilliant over the last few years, considering all the shite that we've had to go through and watch. But that's a phenomenal. I did see Dunfermline had put something up about their average attendance. I think it was about 4,500. So, and considering they've been running away with the league, it's not a surprise that they're a bit above us. Plus, I hate to be that pedantic guy as well, but they have a bigger away end. So when we do go there, we take more than we get back.
Are you taking credit for the Dunfermline?
Small credit there, aye. So
yeah, I like that. I like that. News from the club, Falkirk women. Let's start off with them. Big game yesterday for them, and it kind of went the way we thought it was going to be. FC Edinburgh undefeated this season. Unfortunately, the girls were beaten 2-0. They've won the league at Cantor, FC Edinburgh. But it was to be fair, the girls, they were beaten earlier in the season 4-1 and 4-0. So they only got beat 2-0. It was a goal in the last minute as well. It kind of sealed it for Edinburgh yesterday. However, that means it's a huge game for Falkirk women against Westdyke at the stadium this Sunday. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff if you can get down to that. Basically, it's winner takes all. Though a draw is enough for Falkirk women to be promoted. So big game at the stadium this Sunday. If you're around, go down and see the women take on Westdyke, and fingers crossed the girls can get promoted. It'd be great to see.
Could be a big crowd of that, actually. Yeah, hopefully the club will market it really, really well. I'm sure they will. And obviously we're giving them a wee shout out here. We'll try and do some stuff on the socials towards the weekend as well. Do you know, that's actually probably a more important game than our trip up to Peterhead on Saturday.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll talk to Colin from the Bluetooth podcast a bit later on. That's just a dead rubber, that game, isn't it?
Yeah,
absolute dead runner. But I think it's really important that we need to put in a performance going into the playoffs, that we go up there and get a win. So we'll see how it goes. Falkirk are looking for the goal of the season. I don't think we've scored some. By the way, I think if when you look at the goal of the season contenders from this season, I mean, some of the goals were scored. Leon McCann, sole effort. Ryan Williamson, sole effort. Morrison's against Clyde. But there's no one's going to beat Guff's halfway line goal. That's one of the best Falkirk goals that have ever been scored. So
I'd be very shocked if that halfway line and he's in our own half. Strike doesn't get it. His second one that day was an absolute belter.
No, second one was an absolute peach as well. So the Craig McGuffey trophy, I think it's going to be renamed this season. You can vote on that on the socials now, but I think there's only going to be one winner in that. Season tickets have went on sale, or are just about to go on sale, for early bird prices. They go on sale. We're recording this on a Tuesday. Go on sale tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Is that right, or is it? Was it today at
No,
11 o'clock?
today's Monday, John.
It's
You've
Monday,
lost.
yeah. They're on sale now. As you listen to that, you can get them in person at the club shop, or you can get them over the phone to renew your season ticket. Early bird prices exist until the end of June. That's right, isn't it? The end of June, 30th of June, you can get your early bird. And if you're a member of the Falkirk Support Society or for the Forever Falkirk Fund, you can pay that over 12 months. But yeah, the early bird prices are obviously on sale now if you want to get your season ticket renewed. Obviously, you know, I guess the club are putting them on sale now just to try and guarantee revenue, because there might be a few people that, if we are stuck in League One, touch wood, hopefully we aren't, that might not renew. So I guess the club are getting the season tickets on sale now just to guarantee that revenue, and hopefully we'll have the buzz off the back of the semi-final and try and get as many people renewing as possible, Ross.
Yeah, no, it's a standard type of year for us to launch. Obviously, we're actually maybe we're even a wee bit later this year, because I noticed there was a few Premier League teams whose early bird has actually finished by now, which is a bit crazy when you think about it. But yeah, no, it'll be good. Obviously, try and get as many of these sold. The only thing is we've got the playoffs coming up. Well, we know we've obviously got at least 2 games. Granted, we don't know who we're playing in the away game yet, but we got in touch with Jamie at the club. He's confirmed that the playoff home tickets will be on sale towards this midweek, so maybe Wednesday or Thursday. And the only issue I've got is it's obviously, and granted, the season tickets are on sale till the end of June, so I'm maybe just waffling a lot of shite for no reason, but I do wonder if it's a great idea selling them at the same time as the playoff tickets, because obviously some people might just want to get their season ticket bought, but then they're obviously, we're at the clubs then asking them to fork out for playoff tickets, away tickets as well, and all that jazz. So hopefully it's not putting families under a wee bit of pressure. But listen, hopefully we'll have sellouts at the playoff games, especially the home game. I'm sure we'll take big crowds to the away game, whoever it's against Airdrie or Alloa. We'll soon find out. Personal preference would be probably Alloa, I'll be honest.
Yes. Yeah. Well, obviously, the big game at the weekend, we'll see what the outcome of that. I think Airdrie away to Edinburgh, which has been their bogey team. Alloa at home to Queen of the South.
Dunfermline.
Alloa at home to Dunfermline. So 2 tough games for both sides. You would think Airdrie, though, might, because Dunfermline won't want to lose another game. You know, they've got that, you know, only 1 defeat under their belts. Yeah. You suspect Airdrie will probably have enough to go against Edinburgh and get a win there. Though, like you said, we spoke to Andrew from the OTL podcast, and they were like, it's our bogey team this season, the Edinburgh have been. So we should wait and see, because Dunfermline have dropped a wee bit of form, which is great to see as well over the last couple of weeks since we played them. So,
and obviously the championship team's going to be known by
Friday night.
Well.
We'll know on Friday night. I mean, it's between 3. I mean, all 3 are still in the mix. There are both Cove and Hamilton, so we will find out who.
What's your preference there, John?
Oh, I'd love to put Hartley down. I think we'd all say, you know, that would be. I said that, you know, if we had the chance to put Hartley down, it'd be a beautiful thing. So I would definitely take putting Hartley down. That would be better than, you know, going to the final of the Scottish Cup. Going up and putting Hartley down would be a thing of beauty. So, that would be my preference. Yours?
I can see the appeal of that. I do, because obviously he's a wee rat, and I'd love nothing better. But I think against the 3 teams, maybe Arbroath might swing in it for me in terms of who would do well against. Do you know what my ideal preference would be, if I'm being honest? So say we get Alloa and or Airdrie, obviously it can only be the other 2, but we play whoever, we get through, hopefully, and then the League One team beat the Championship team, because we saw on Saturday, as we've saw against us play against Dundee and stuff as well, we kind of struggle against these big, tall Championship teams that we've came up against. So maybe it would be better to play the League One teams that we know we can get a result against, rather than the unknown quantity of a Championship team. But It is what it is. We're in the playoffs. We can't say we've struggled to even get in the playoffs the last few seasons. So let's take whoever it comes and absolutely nail them on the day.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's get into the semi-final game from the weekend now. And as ever on Folk Daft, we get a guest pundit on. Please welcome to Folk Daft, it's Scott.
Hi everyone, glad to be here.
Sir. You're right.
Good. Sorry, Scott. You're just probably about over Saturday as we record this on a Monday evening now, but we're about to open those old wounds again. But before we do that, need to ask you, what's your Bairn story? How did you get into Falkirk?
Oh goodness, I think I was either the last season or the second last season of Rockville. Had went down with my dad all those years ago, and I haven't done it for the glory, I have to say.
Always for the love, mate. Always for the
love, yeah.
But yeah, so I think since season 00 and 01 onwards, been a season ticket holder for most of that. Even all those years ago at Steny.
Oh God, yeah.
Jason Lee up top and all that. So it's been an interesting couple of 20 odd years.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, absolutely. So we say you're not allowed to pick either of the big three, Latape, Stainrod or Crunchy, but who's your Falkirk hero, Scott?
Oh, there's a few. I can't really ever see past Pedro Matinho, to be fair. I love Pedro.
Love it.
I mean, of recent times, there's been such a kind of revolving door of players. I guess it's been hard to kind of pin down someone in even the last kind of 5 to 10 years, but more recently, probably not a massive fan favourite, to be honest. But I genuinely really liked the boy we had up top a couple of seasons ago, and I've just my brain just went completely numb on me there.
As long as you don't say Denan Lewis, we're okay.
No.
John Baird.
No, John Baird. It was John Baird. The hat-trick hero against Dumbarton.
I know. I mean, we were talking about him actually. I was in the pub post-match. We were just having a bit of chat, and John Baird would be a player that you'd love to have had done Saturday, playing in that game.
Pedro was brilliant though as well. That's a cracking choice. Pedro was just an enigma, wasn't he? Because he obviously, like Russell, he liked to smoke, he liked a night out, and he liked a beer. But do you know what? He did what he needed to do on the pitch, which is all we needed him for. So absolutely.
What did you do pre-match? Before we get into the game, what did you do pre-match on Saturday? What was your kind of build-up to the game, Scott?
Very healthy. So we got up about 8 o'clock and probably started on a few pints about 8:05. I think was probably the pre-build-up for that. Got through to Glasgow for about 10ish, and there's a cracking wee. It's not really a pub. It's more of a kind of a barbecue smokehouse, I think, these days. But it's right on the corner of Hampden, if you're approaching the West Stand from Mount Florida,
right
across from the wee kind of spar shop. So we spent,
yeah.
It was not bad. So we spent probably too much time in there. Thankfully, it made the game a little bit easier to handle, to be honest. But what about yourselves?
Oh yeah, well we were just saying there. I was counting house, training into the city centre, counting house, and then down to the game. And Ross was on the Elliott's bus. So it was a good build up and a good pre-match. But let's get into the match itself then. Falkirk 0, Inverness Caledonia Thistle 3. All the Mackays, 2 from Barry, 1 from Dan Mackay. We were unchanged going into the game. We saw the team line up unchanged from Ala. Ross, is that the lineup you would have went with?
I was quite encouraged with the lineup because obviously when the team came out, we were probably about halfway through Falkirk on the bus, and everybody was quite optimistic with the team lineup actually because they thought, we're going to give them a go. Williamson starting was obviously a hot topic last week, and we weren't sure how that was going to go. There's a wee rumour that Blaine Rowe got an injury on Friday, which
I'm guessing because he didn't make the bench. I'm guessing
which probably made McGlynn's mind up about Ryan. The less said about that boy on Saturday, the better. To be honest, he didn't have a good game. His attitude looked stinking as well, and that faff about waving to come off bang on the 60th minute just didn't sit right with me either. To be honest, but I was quite optimistic when I saw the team. And I thought, we've maybe got a good lineup there that we're going to give them a right good game.
Yeah, the only surprise for me, I mean, I think I talked about it in the podcast last week. I would have maybe started with Aidan Nesbitt, but when he came on as well, Jesus, he didn't look at it at all. What about you, Scott? Is there any change you would have made to that starting lineup?
It's been difficult, hasn't it? Because I think McGlynn's clearly got a way of playing, and I think you've got to keep in mind as well. A lot of those players aren't McGlynn's players, so he's obviously went with a formation he feels most suitable for the squad that he's got. Personally, and I know it's going to be such an unpopular opinion, I do not think Romain Barrel's a starter. I think he runs and he runs and he runs, but it's shades of Akil Francis. It's the final product. It's the second touch is a shackle. He doesn't know when to release the ball. I thought that was a game that Gary Oliver should have been up there, because when you've got Callan Kai on the wing, what Gary will do is bring the ball in, look for a pass, and 9 times out of 10 plays the right pass at the right time. I felt with Barrel up top, like I say, hey, the guy puts in a hell of a shift. But I think from the start, I like him off the bench, 10, 15 to go. When defenders are a wee bit leggy and they go, oh God, I don't want to run the channel. I think when you've got that, maybe would you keep a Kinnear? I don't know. PJ's looked a bit wobbly at times when he's came back, so no real complaints and goals. Defensively, if it's true and Blaine Rose injured, well, there's nothing you can do there. Donaldson and Brad Mackay give me anxiety, but Watson not being 100% fit, he's not played a hell of a lot of football in the last 18, 20 months. Probably not the game that put him in. Left back, I mean, you've only got McCann, don't you? So you can't grumble there. And maybe Nesbitt, but Nesbitt's a wee bit like McGuffey. 1 in 10 games, he'll play out his skin. The other 9 games, you go, meh. So not a huge amount of complaints with the first 11. Maybe Gary Oliver, but again,
I mean, it certainly looked like he started against Alloa with Morrison playing up top with Burrell and Kennedy giving that kind of free role. I actually thought they should have went with 4-3-3, and like you say, Gary Oliver might have been a shout in that formation just because of his experience. And when you saw when he came on, he made the difference. He played really well, apart from a couple of misses aside. But we started off just finding feet, and then before we know it, and as Ross said last week, first game of Falkirk being introduced to VAR, and the first game we've had it in, and of course it fucks us over in the first 10 minutes. What a shock it does. What did you make of the decision, Ross?
Obviously, at the time, no one knew anything about it until we saw the graphic go up on the screen saying they were having a look at it. So it was I think other than a half-hearted hand up by Billy Mackay, that there was no other real shout for it. I haven't seen it back now. I can see why it's been given. I think it is soft, but I don't watch a lot of the Scottish Premiership football on TV with VAR getting involved, but certainly from what you see down south, as soon as there's an arm there now, and it's not by their side or behind their back, they're getting a penalty against them. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I can see why he's giving it. I'd probably be shouting for it if it was at the other end. But sore thing to get done after 3 minutes, and it kind of knocked the stuffing out the team, knocked the stuffing out the fans anyway. Because what a reception the fans gave the team when the team came out. I thought that was brilliant. The noise level was huge. The colour that was there as well, it was just amazing. And then we all just got like a proper kick in the balls, didn't we?
Yeah, the thing is with the goal, it is unfortunately, I think everyone disagrees with the handball. In fact, Billy Dodds came out and sort of, had a go against it, and thought it was an unfortunate decision. But it's just the way of the world now and how the handball decision is. Liam McCann's trying to turn his back on it, and he's left his arm out there. I mean, you can't exactly turn your back and using that motion and have it in at your side. So really, really harsh, obviously. But yeah, Scott, do you have any complaints over it?
It's one of those ones, if it's for us and that happens against an Inverness defender, you're screaming for your life for it, aren't you? So it is unfortunate. I think the second the referee spent about 10 seconds max looking at it, you thought, yeah. We're in trouble here. I think they're meant to take distance from ball to hand as well, and he's maybe a metre, maybe 2 metres at a push. Yeah. He's launched it at him as well, so there's not much you can do. And for me, I think he's tried to turn away from it. He's within a couple of feet from it, so I don't know what he can do, but if the rule is if it strikes the hand, it has hit the hand. So it's something that I'm sure if it was us going forward and that happened against a team, they wouldn't get a penalty against them the way this season's went. But our luck isn't there.
I don't think you can blame Leon for it because it's just natural, absolutely no blame. But I mean, that absolutely knocked the stuff, and we didn't even have time to settle into the game. Now our team had time to settle into the game, and I guess the thing is, don't give away a goal in the first 20 minutes, and I think it would have been a different game if it went on. It certainly would have been a different game if Morrison had taken his chance not long after it. At the time, I thought it's actually quite a hard chance to take. Looking back on it, he's absolutely sclaffed it. Rather than striking it, he's absolutely, he's tried to pass it into the net, but he's almost like it's went curved out the way, and you're like, oh Jesus. I mean, if it went in or off the other side of the post, you'd be going brilliant. I think do you guys think if that had went in, it would have been a totally different game? Because I just think that was the big turning point.
I think it was a turning point as well, John, for me. Apart from anything, Morrison didn't do anything after he missed that as well. His head went right down, and he probably should have and could have got hooked earlier, to be honest. But horrible miss. I've watched it a couple of times. No idea. Like, see, for me, Morrison's big thing is just absolutely putting the boot through it and giving it a proper good strike. And as you said, it was like he was trying to place it into the net, and he's just really misjudged it. And I think that would have massively changed the game. To get that equaliser still fairly on, we could have then pushed on because they would have changed how they were set up as well. And for me, it was huge. It was huge. What about you, Scotty?
Well, I think that will not quite, but it's definitely in the same kind of levels of the Ryan Flynn Kilmarnock chance of going to haunt me for the next 5 to 10 years. So it's something where you watch back and, probably in training, he could do that 100 times and 100 times it goes in. But on the game on the big stage, he's just kind of flapped his lines a wee bit. So it's a game of fine margins, though, isn't it? I mean, how many times will you watch a Falkirk game and we'll have 15 to 20 chances and we'll take none of them, or maybe one at a push? Yeah. I goes hits from the counter and they'll take 2 out of 2 chances. And I think it's just very indicative of what our team's been for the last 5 or so years. We just miss a hell of a lot of chances. And the difficulty you've got against is a team like Inverness, who, to be fair, are flying at the moment. I think they're one of the informed teams in the Championship. And with guys like Mackay up front, they don't need a second chance. They will hit you, and they'll hit you hard. And when you're fluffing your lines and they're not gonna, it makes it incredibly difficult.
I think that's a brilliant point, Scott. See the boy Mackay. He's a game changer, and put somebody of that out in our team, and it's a different game. We don't
an experienced striker like that is Billy Mackay. I'll get slagged off for this, but see if we had someone like Connor Salmon in this season's team, I think he would have scored an absolute bucket load. I think he would have scored an absolute whole load.
I know it's a bank holiday, but how much have you been on the beer today?
honestly, look what he's done with Alloa this season. I think he would have scored an absolute. Seeing our system and the way we play the game, I think Connor Salmon and that team would have scored an absolute bucket load. And just having that experienced striker up top, someone like we see Billy Mackay and Inverness, because it was the word of the day will be, if you have one of these big word chart things, clinical will be what will go down in this game, because Inverness took their chances, as we saw with the second one. A great ball in for Henderson. I have no idea what Carl Donaldson and Brad Mackay are doing, letting him just go through the middle. Not one of them picked him up. Billy Mackay, again, going back to his experience, just found that pocket in between the 2 centre halves, and it was bread and butter. What a brilliant ball over from the boy Henderson, in fairness. But, I don't know what Brad and Cole were thinking. They just let him come in between them, and there you go, back of the net, 2-0.
Yeah. With Connor Salmon, though, the guy's won 16 goals all comps this season, so you never know.
Has he scored that many, has he?
He has. I think he would have scored a load for us.
I do think we need, I know what you're saying, though, and it's all about, because we do create chances and we do want somebody to put, I just think we need someone in the summer of a really, see a Stephen McGinn type signing, but up front.
We need it up front and we need it in defence. See if we got Kyle Benedictus, as we were hoping to get in the summer.
Yeah.
different game. And if we had had someone experienced through that core, because right through the core of that team, by the way, and I'm going to use a wrestling term, it's SAWFT, it is soft. See through that whole spine of that team, it is too soft, apart from Stephen McGinn in the middle.
What does that stand for? Is that like
soft? SAWFT, it's a wrestling thing, don't worry.
Oh, right, okay.
There's only a few people that will get that. But anyway, I think right through the core of that team, from goalkeeper, Steve McGinn probably aside, that middle of the team's soft. That middle of the team is absolutely soft, and you need experience in there. Whether it is, I mean, I'm saying Connor Sam, and I think he would have actually done a job. But you know, if we had got the likes of Benedictus, and if we had had Sam, I think that would have made a huge difference. I mean, taking that aside, I mean, it was like you say, went 2-0 down. We had our chances again. Max had a couple of headers. Hendo had that header. I don't know what he was thinking. And it got up so well, and it's like, what's going on?
It looked easier for him to just loop it over the keeper. And their keeper, I don't think, is that great.
No.
We didn't lay a glove on him. We didn't lay a glove on him on Saturday.
Ridgers is prone for a wee mistake. And I always think if you've got a keeper who's okay-ish to a point, the first thing you want to be doing if you're McGlynn is saying, find space, take a shot.
A shot at him.
The ground didn't look the best. The pitch didn't look great. It was a wee bit drizzly, and you think, just try it.
Yeah.
So I always think Ridgers has got a good mistake on him.
I think that's a good shout, Scott. We didn't take enough shots, and we pissed about with the ball far too much.
We did a lot of pissing about with the ball. Typical what you've seen a lot of this season. Pass, nice passing, holding the ball well, doing well in possession. When you actually look at the statistics, you know, it was a 50-50 game in terms of possession, even though I thought we had more of it. But it's just not taking chances. You know, we had the two headers from Max, we had the header from Henderson, and it's just not being clinical, which Inverness clearly were.
And we didn't move the ball quick enough either.
No, we didn't.
That annoyed me on Saturday because Kennedy, as much as he like, I know he stayed on the full game, I suppose you had to keep either him or Morrison on, but every time he got the ball, he slowed it down. They got everybody back. Max, who's normally brilliant at like a wee killer pass, didn't. He was just so safety all game. You're not going to get forward driving runs for McGinn either. And I thought McGinn was our best player on Saturday, to be honest. Yeah. But everybody else was just off it, both offensively and defensively.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, you know, and then we come at the second half, we changed things. It was about 4-3-3 we switched to. But it's like, it didn't make that much of a difference. We found ourselves in the first, 57th minute, then they go again, and it's the same story again. Good ball over this time, for Billy Mackay, and, he's on the, another goal, another header and another, a ball that should be getting defended. Another great goal, a great goal and, great finish from Mackay at the back post, but it's just,
we didn't deal with their crosses all game. And both fullbacks, Williamson and McCann, they just couldn't cope with the balls that were getting thrown in. They weren't showing them in the right way either. I actually thought Yeats came on and did far better than Williamson did in the 65 minutes he lasted. Was it 65 he got to? But I thought we, in fact, I think if we're talking about going back and John McGlynn thinking about what could I have done differently, actually, do you know what? Maybe playing Yeats at right back would have been the better option, or Brad Mackay.
But then Ryan Williamson
right back and move Henderson back to the centre half.
Yeah, but Ryan Williamson was in decent form coming in. He set up 2 goals against Alloa last week against Edinburgh. He's arguably one of our best players. Offensively,
yeah, but defensively, he's never been a brilliant defender, Jordan. I think we should have looked at Inverness and went, what are we going to do? It wasn't just all about us on Saturday. We needed to think about, right, where are they going to hurt us? And I think he got, if we're talking about the lineup and maybe positional sense, maybe moving Mackay out to right back could have been an option. You had Mackey on the bench there, who could have played left centre half. We didn't concede a lot of goals when Mackey was in the team either. So it's hindsight, but maybe we need to look at this for the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, he made the triple sub once we went 3-0 down. Nesbitt, Oliver and Wright all coming down. I actually thought Oliver I would have actually. I thought Morrison had a stinker. I really hope that boy finds form going into the playoffs because he's been minging the last couple of months. But I actually thought with Over coming on, I thought he played really well when he came on. Misses aside, because he had two big misses. One when he went round the keeper and should be burying that, absolutely burying that. And I don't know what he was saying. He then tried to square it around, putting his laces through it and lashing it into the net. And then the other one when he found himself in 18 yard. It's a hard chance to take on his left foot, tried to curl it into the top bin, but two big chances for all. I think he made a big difference. And as Scott was saying, I think it's the kind of game that would have suited him starting up front. And saying that though, I think when taking Burrow off, I would have kept Burrow on and brought Oliver alongside with him, unless Burrow had ran his race. But we brought on big Matty Wright, and no, just no for me. No for me.
Yeah, I don't know. He must have pictures of McGlynn in a unfortunate position to still be getting a game. It's frightening how bad that boy is. I just don't see it. I genuinely don't see it. His first contribution when he could have done anything with the ball. Even just playing it out the park, but no, he passes it straight to their player who's on the 18-yard line. It's mind-boggling what he sees in him. I just don't get it, and I don't know how he scored those goals for Montrose earlier in the season as well.
Yeah, I mean it was just hard to take. I mean, obviously Inverness hit the woodwork twice as well. Forget that as well. They just were very clinical. Just clinical in what they did with the ball, how they used the ball. They moved the ball a lot faster than us. From the wide areas, the delivery was a lot better than us. They were, I mean, let's hold the facts. For the possession we had and the way we played, they were the better team. I don't think there's any getting away with that. Unless anyone wants to say otherwise.
I think we held our own in terms of maybe for 10, 15-minute spells, but again, it's been quite painful this season because you could probably pinpoint moments at each game we've had where we've maybe went out and played okay, but it's the simple stuff we're just not getting right. I think you touched on it yourself, John. The third goal, it's a fantastic finish, and credit where credit's due, but it's just a well placed ball over the top that any defender worth their salt should really be able to kind of get themselves out of that position, and we've looked really weak. I think sometimes when a midfielder picks the ball up, we often, not always, but often don't put the right pressure on. We're quite whimsical, we'll kind of get maybe a yard away from them and go, oh, where are you going to go? But then not put in. Comparatively, when other teams, they'll get in your face and we just, we brick it essentially. And then when it's one-on-one in defence, I mean, you look back even to just 10 so days ago against Edinburgh, it was almost carbon copy of the goals he scored. It was just a ball in behind defence are lost, and you find yourself losing goals way too easily. Yeah. I appreciate that it's not, Brad Mackay's not a McGlynn player, and I know Watson's not fit yet, but I mean, you say you want a Benedictus. I think realistically you need two Benedictuses. And new right back, because we're not going to get Rowe. Leon McCann, we hope. I don't know has he got a year? Is he still? I
think Leon McCann's still got another year left on his deal, I'm sure. But I agree with you, Scott. I think we need it's a proper overhaul, regardless of whether we go up. And obviously we want to be that team that goes up. But I think if you look at the teams in the Championship, they're all big, they're all strong, they know what they're doing, they're cutthroat. We need to be like that, regardless of the league that we're in. And there's some players in that squad who are just not fitting in. It's interesting that Nesbitt's obviously not been starting games recently. I even though he's got this deal that he's signed, I think he'll be more of a bit part player next season. I just cannot see him being a regular starter on the team.
Interesting. I mean, it was frustrating. It really was frustrating. And, talking back, 2 days on, I'm just, my blood's starting to boil a wee bit now again, because there was such a great chance there. And I mean, but all credit to Inverness, it showed the difference that there is a big, we saw it against Dundee. We saw it now against Inverness that there is a clear gulf now. When I was cruising at the season, I'm thinking, you know what? There's not that much difference between what we're doing down here in League One and the Championship. But on seeing the performances against Dundee and against Inverness now, albeit we beat Thistle, but it was a second string Thistle we played, and we beat Ayr. you know, we've got a bit of rub of the green on that night with the penalty save and obviously the deflection for the goal. But that you can see there is a big difference. And if we do make it to the Championship next season via the playoffs, there is, like you say, Ross, going to have to be an overhaul. And part of that overhaul is going to have to be bringing real experienced players into that set. Because we've got a young squad. You look down that whole squad. McGinn's the only one, 34, oldest player in the squad. Everyone else is young, in their early 20s, you know, and you could tell there was a difference there on Saturday with that experience, because they did look nervous. And, you know, I think I saw a message afterwards when they went into hospitality, the players at the end, they were all absolutely gutted and were having to be consoled by the parents. And, you know, it's just that nerves and the young nature of our team. But yeah, definitely, if we do make the Championship, that's a big if. There needs to be a real focus and overhaul on that squad in the summer.
I think the worry is as well is if we don't make the Championship, it's never mind about overhauling players. It's players that you maybe want to keep go. Sod that. You know, is he out of contract?
No, Cal's got another year.
Another year. I mean, he's possibly one of the only players you might make a bit of profit on. But
I'd sell him.
So I was just about to say the same. I would cash in now, to be honest, because he's not consistent enough. This should be a league where I know he scores goals, right? But he scores goals when he fancies it. And sometimes, as we've seen as well, his decision-making lets him down as well. And see, for me, I was just, when you were talking there, I was thinking in my head, who would I keep from that starting 11? And realistically, in next season's team, it would be McGinn and Henderson for me. And that starting 11, I wouldn't have any other. I don't think I'd have any.
McCann?
What's that? No, I think we need a better. I think we need a better defensive unit, and Mackie might be that guy for left back next season, maybe. But I think we need two proper big bruising centre halves that know what they're doing. We need a competent fullback as well, because Blaine Rowe's been great. Statistically, he doesn't contribute in terms of, like we were talking about Williamson setting goals up and stuff. Blaine Rowe doesn't really do that, but he feels and looks a bit better defensively. I think we need to try and get a bit of a happy medium between both offensively and defensively if he wants to continue playing this type of formation. I agree with you boys. I think we just need, there's the money there. We've got the cup semi-final money. Let's use it wisely. And I do trust McGinn to do it. I do trust him to get the right players in. I think tactically he has his moments, but in terms of finding a player, I think he's got it in him.
Yeah.
How much of that money though will go towards the deficit we've already got? Because I think there was still about 400 grand that needed to be made up, I think, wasn't there? So
I think that was filled prior to making the semi. So I think the semi money will. Yeah. Well, obviously they'll be working on the basis that season tickets sell the same as they have been doing and sponsorship goes the same way. But yeah, I believe they'd filled the gap prior to making the semi. So you would assume that money could be used for next season in terms of giving ourselves a wee bit of an edge.
Yeah, I'll be interested. I think at the end of the season, Joe Ross, it'll be really interesting on this podcast to go through the squad and go, keep, not sure, get rid, and just assess that squad ahead of next season. But we'll see where we're at in terms of if we're going to be in League One or the Championship. Touch wood. Right, let's hear what Jim McGowan had to say after the game as he caught up with Lewis.
John, disappointment obviously at the result today, but can you give us your immediate thoughts after that match?
Yeah, I'm very proud of the players. I thought they were excellent throughout the whole game, the whole 90 minutes. We worked our socks off right to the death, and you can see the appreciation of the fans to that extent, you know. So massive following here today, massive fans here today, supporters. Thank them very much for all the support throughout the Scottish Cup campaign and particularly today. The game couldn't have started much worse for us with a very, very soft penalty. And having played many times against Inverness, that was right up their street to get a goal so early in the game. They're the type of team that will, after that, just suck you in and then hit you in a counter-attack. And that's exactly what happened. But I thought for 30 minutes, we were by far the better team. The only good thing about losing a goal early is they got 85 minutes to get the goal back. However, against a team like Inverness, they make it difficult because they're very strong defensively. they're built on a strong defence, and they get a goal up, and then they'll defend. However, we should equalise. We've got an opportunity. Callum's got an open goal to hit the ball in for about 20 yards or so, and unfortunately it goes across and hits the post and comes out, and Romano couldn't get it in after that. That makes a difference. That makes it goes one each, and that just rocks them. That would have rocked them if that had happened. So they can afford then to continue to kind of like defend, and then we lose the ball. Leon tries to play into Hendo. Hendo loses possession, up the line, great cross into the box, great header for Billy Mackay, 2-0. One moment that we've been on top in the game, playing some great football. But the difference is these moments that they can put a quality ball in and the striker takes it. And that's the difference. The difference throughout the whole, the fact that it's 3-0, we do really well. We start the second half. I mean, in the first half, on top of Cam's opportunity, Max has got in the box. He's timed 2 great runs into the box, but his header goes right into the hands of Mark Ridgers. The other one gets blocked. He's had 2 shots that are blocked at the edge of the box. Hendo's there was a free kick that Kai Kennedy's put in. At the goalie comes, Hender's went to header it. If he gets it right, he dinks it over the goalkeeper, we're back in the game. He doesn't quite get it right, and it goes by a mile. But if he gets it right, and it's not, it was not an easy opportunity, but it's one I've seen players score with, and that easily gets us back in the game. Again, that would have rocked Inverness. However, we couldn't quite get that goal back to get them under pressure. Half time, we believe that we're still in the game, we've still got an opportunity to turn it, because 2-0 is that dodgy lead, but we had to get the next goal. So again, 15 minutes of us doing well, going forward, creating opportunities. Again, can't quite get all the build up, where it came from and the rest of it, but it's one great ball in the box again. Billy Mackay peels off, great finish, 3-0. So that makes it more difficult. But our guys have kept going, and then we've got an opportunity with an open goal, even at that, 3-1, maybe gets you back in the game. Things can turn. Unfortunately, today we couldn't finish, and Inverness were very clinical in their finishing. They took their chances, and that's what the game's all about. It's about taking chances, getting goals. The game's won on goals. Unfortunately, we couldn't finish our dinner today, and we go away licking our wounds. But we've put a hell of a lot into the game, and Inverness are the top team in the championship right now. They are the in-form team. They are the team that are on the ascendancy. They've got all the players back, more or less, and they are in a good place. And so I think, we've matched them in every department. I think we've outplayed them in many departments. But the one that matters most is the goal. So congratulations to Inverness. You guys were very clinical today. We wish Billy and his team all the very best in the final. And we dust ourselves down, and we get back to league business next Saturday against Peterhead, and then we look forward to the playoffs. We've still got loads to play for, absolutely loads to play for. The main aim this season was to get to the championship. That's very much still alive. We've had a great cup run. We've enjoyed the cup run. It's brought us, great finance in. Players have played some big games, televised games. We've had a lot of great reviews from all the pundits with regards to our performances that we've put in. And that stands in good stead going forward.
There he does, John McGlynn, using the word clinical as we've been doing throughout this podcast as well. Can he finish our dinner? That's obviously putting it mildly. What do you make of what he had to say, Ross?
I agree with that sentiment. We definitely couldn't finish our dinner on Saturday. I kind of disagree about what he said about being the best team in every other department bar scoring. I didn't feel that at the game. Like, if he means possession, yeah, it felt like we had an awful lot of possession, and I think we had some nice passes. We're spraying it about at times, but not in any area whatsoever that was really going to hurt them. So I'm not sure about that one. I'm not really sure about that at all. What about you, Scott?
No, I got the same as you. I got a few quotes, and I know this is probably quite unpopular and just the bitter Falkirk fan coming out, but whenever you hear a manager say we worked our socks off, so good, the bare minimum of what you'd expect. We couldn't finish, and Inverness could. Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean that's clear there. But we matched them in every department was the last one I got, and I just feel no. I do feel Inverness were just a stronger team on the day, and I think he doesn't want to come out obviously and slaughter the players, because you can see they put a lot into it, but it's probably a difficult one for him to take as well, because he's probably sitting there full of emotions too. But if he genuinely thinks we managed to win every department, I've I've got a few concerns with that.
Yeah. Let's see what the rest of the supporters are saying. Mark kicks us off. He says, we need to put this result in perspective. We're still on the road to recovery after the last few seasons. Still think we need a plan B and play more direct when the slow build up from the back isn't working. Teams know how to play us. Couldn't take our chances.
Indeed. Scott says, and I don't know if this is you, Scott, but no penetration and attack for us. 2 gilt-edged chances missed. Inverness soaked up our possession and counter-attacked well. The penalty was a blow, but we need to shake it off quickly and focus on the big picture and get through the playoffs. Absolutely.
It's going to be hard for the players, though. I mean, obviously, I saw a report on the Come On You Bairns Facebook page that somebody was in hospitality and seen all the players coming up and they were all completely distraught. And shaking that off and picking yourself up is going to be hard for them to do, but they're going to need to do it. And they're going to need to, what they need to do on Saturday is go up to Peterhead and give them an absolute pumping, and get that confidence flowing back through the team, that mid-season confidence that we had when we looked like we were unbeatable. We need to get that back on Saturday. So, yeah. Lee Div says, disappointed, really need big performance from Max, Morrison and Kennedy. Thought all three were poor, especially Morrison. That being said, there wasn't as much in it as the scoreline suggests. They were clinical, we were wasteful.
Yeah, clinical again. Tess said, played decent at times, just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. The ref was shocking in some of his decisions, and after the third goal, they should have just tried to score. I would have, rather than it being 6-0, if they'd at least tried to put the ball in the back of the net.
I actually didn't think the ref was that bad. I think you go into the VAR decision, he had no option but to give it, because that's what happens now with handball, and it's just horrible. But unfortunately, that's until they get that sorted out, it's the way football is at the moment. Charlie says not clinical enough today, unfortunately. Poor decision to give the handball penalty and heads, never really got back up after that. Early pen ruined the game. Massive shades of the Dundee game at the Falkirk Stadium back in December. Need to fly into the playoffs by thumping Peterhead. Here.
We do. However, I think it'll be a much changed team, and I don't think Saturday's team is going to look anything like the team that will play Airdrie or Alloa on the Tuesday. I would have all the bench, the guys that's been on the bench having a game. I know we've got a few. Remember those under 18s that were in the squad against when we played Alloa earlier in the season? Remember when we had loads of injuries? Yeah. I would be drafting some of these boys in to make up the bench as well. Get wee Lewis on the bench, get the kit man on the bench, get everybody, honestly, just anybody who's up there in a Falkirk tie or tracksuit, put them on the squad for Saturday and just let them have a go against Peterhead.
Remember the game against Edinburgh away, there was a wee midfielder came on for about
Pierce
10
Carroll
minutes.
Who set up, Pierce Carroll.
Yes, that's a shout actually. Pierce Carroll, play him, give him a start. Anybody bar the boy right up front. Just Jordan Allen has to be starting.
I think Jordan Allen will start on Saturday. I think he will.
Hope so. Paul has a similar comment to the one I made last week on the podcast. So just when you thought the SFA couldn't possibly fuck Falkirk over anymore, boom! Welcome to the world of VAR. Have a look at the handball. I think one Cali player shouts on it, but didn't bother with any that Falkirk claimed. Did we have a penalty shout in the rest of the game?
I don't think we did.
It was after. I think it was maybe the next attack we had. Burrell.
Yes, you're right. There was.
I've not it back where I was. Don't get me wrong. I was in the cheap seats in the West Stand, but it didn't look much in it. It looked like it was a bit of a tank. I fell over, but it might have been.
Yeah, Michael, on the wrong side of things at both ends, not a formula for winning any game, never mind a game of that importance. Inverness look full of confidence, no surprise given their form. Treat the playoffs as a separate mini season and come up with some sort of plan to get us up. Yep.
Homer says, wish we'd put up more of a fight. Usual defence cost us. Heads have to go back up for the playoffs, and I don't want to see Matty Wright in a Falkirk shirt ever again. Should have put Oliver on alongside Burrow and taken Morrison off. Poor judgment from McGlynn, in my opinion.
I'd agree with that. I think Oliver should have come up top with him. Joe says, Donald says, ridiculous penalty decision in 3 minutes, and Morrison missed an open goal in 10 minutes. Summed up our day. Instead of being 1 up, we were 1 down and never recovered from that. ICT have a proven goal scorer, and we don't. That was the difference. Need to regroup for the playoffs. Come on, you Bears.
Indeed, he's got it right as well. Joe said we've had so many chances we didn't take and a few unfortunate misses. We've done well to get this far for a third tier team. Can I come back on that in a second though? And I'm proud of the team for that. I just hope we get our heads down in these playoffs now and don't give up now the big one is over. I agree with the phrase, the statement. See the third tier thing, and obviously the Beeb and Viaplay were making a big thing of this. Oh, it could be the second time a third tier team, right? Yeah, they're absolutely bang on. We're a third tier team. But see, when Falkirk come out with it, that's what pisses me off, because Falkirk love to shout about how we're a Premier League team off the pitch. We do this, we do that, but then we use the third tier team when it suits the agenda.
Yeah,
that pisses me off. We're a third tier team. I get it. But let's not use it as a blowing a trumpet type thing. And I don't know if John McGlynn said it in an interview, but yeah, we're a third tier team. But let's not.
When it suits us, yeah, absolutely, exactly. Absolutely, Ross. You're either one or the other, and you don't go on. But we're a Premiership team stuck down in this league or whatever. We are where we are for a reason. If you're going to, you have to stay with one message on it. We're a third tier team or we're no.
Yeah,
and using it, wheeling it out when we get defeated off Inverness. Oh well, we're a third tier team. We're the underdogs and all that stuff. That's all well and good, but you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, sorry.
Both ways. Fraser says last season we didn't finish in the playoffs. This season we had a cup semi-final. I'm now looking forward to the playoffs. Give credit where it's due. What a turnaround from last year. Well done, John and the team. Positive.
Indeed. Last but not least, Mickey says they worked hard but lacked a bit of guile and indecisiveness. Didn't get the rub of the green early on, and ICT were clinical when the chances came, and they deserved the win. Still, it's a few quid in the coffers and was a good day out. Man of the match was the fans. Bring on the playoffs, on the Bairns.
I know. Well, listen, it was a good day out. I enjoyed it up until. In fact, I enjoyed it afterwards. I had a good blether, caught up with some mates, had a good few pints, got a doner pizza kebab on the way down the road. Happy days, That was it. Right, okay then. Right, here we go. Big decisions to be made on this one. I think one's easier than the other. Let's start off, Ross, with your Falkirk Dafty of the week.
I do agree with Mickey's comment about the fans. I thought the fans were brilliant, and see that last 10 minutes as well, when you just knew, obviously you knew longer than 10 minutes before the game was done, but there was a bit of realisation with 10 minutes to go. Do you know what? We're at Hampden. Let's enjoy ourselves. Let's make a bit of noise. So the fans were brilliant. But in terms of on the pitch, I thought he was the most consistent player most of the game, if not all the game. I'm going to go with Stephen McGinn.
Right, who are you going with, Scott?
Difficult target. There wasn't many to pick from, unfortunately. Probably McGinn, to be fair. Possibly Gary Oliver when he came on, if he didn't miss those big chances for the impact he had. But you probably got to give it to McGinn.
Yeah, I think Steve McGinn looked like the only Falkirk player that deserved to be on that stage. Didn't show any sign of nerves. Played the game really well. So Stephen McGinn all around for Falkirk Daft rated. Right in, harder decision to make. Falkirk Dafty, who is it going to?
So it is a tough one, isn't it? It is a tough one. Do you know, I know I've said this twice now, so I'm going to go with the game swung on a bad miss by Callum Morrison. So I'm going to say Callum Morrison, because I thought his head was gone after that as well, and he didn't have any real impact in the game. So I'm going to say Callum Morrison.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Scott?
I hate to say it because I actually like him and I think he's been great, but I think Hendo probably put in his worst performance of the season on Saturday, and it was the biggest game not to perform well. There was a couple of loose passes, and I think it was him in the build-up for the second. So,
yeah.
But probably Hendo.
God, here we go. All right, okay, then I'll just go give someone totally different. I'm going to give it to Ryan Williamson. I thought defensively, wasn't he at it? Again, hand goes up at 60 minutes. You're like, Jesus, the boy is made of fucking whatever. I don't know.
It's not even glass. It's not even glass.
Not even. Do you know what? It's not even glass, and it's like, Jesus, man, honest to God. So I am going to give it to Ryan Williamson. I thought he was really poor on Saturday. Morrison's probably a close second behind him, to be honest with you. Well, it wasn't to be, gents. It wasn't to be. We had a good day out. We didn't expect it. If we'd been sat here at the start of the season, said you'll be talking about Falkirk being in the Scottish Cup semis. I think the frustrating part is, obviously, as a supporter, there was an opportunity there to beat the finals. We would have got absolutely hammered. It would have been a party atmosphere though. I remember that 8-1 game at Celtic Park, you know, when we got absolutely, and it was just what a laugh it was. We'd all just went in and had a laugh, and we'd enjoyed our day.
See, talking about that game, do you remember where we scored?
Andy Thompson celebrated like he'd won the Scottish Cup, man.
And the full Falkirk support were doing. Remember back in the day, people used to do that easy thing with the hands, and it was just the full crowd were. And it would have been a bit of a dicking, John. But as you say, I think we all thought, oh, this is a brilliant wee opportunity, and we just didn't take the chances on Saturday, which is probably the frustration.
I know.
We just didn't take it.
The big surprise on Saturday for myself was I was obviously standing up next to it, and a few guys next to me arrived quite late. And you know that way you double glance someone and think, I know you. But you didn't want to like just approach a random guy and be like, you look like someone I know. It was James Keatons, of all people.
Oh, really?
Aye, he's supposedly really good mates with Gary Oliver. And and they're going, fuck, do you want to put on a shirt, mate? We could be using something else.
Absolutely. It wasn't to be, you know, God knows the next time we'll see Falkirk in I hope we'll see it again in our lifetime. But yeah, God knows next time we'll see Falkirk in a Scottish Cup semi. But we had our day, we enjoyed it slightly. And on to the next one. Here comes the playoffs. Listen, Scott, thanks so much for being our guest pundit this week on a very hard one to take. We really appreciate your time. If you want to be like Scott and be a pundit, time's running out actually. We've only got 2 more podcasts to go up until the end of the season, Roscoe.
That's it.
Drop us a DM on Twitter, Facebook, or you can email us, John or Ross at falkirkdaft.co.uk.
This is Falkirk Daft.
Ross, we're just about upon the end of the season, which means it's awards season. A lot of awards getting dished out for Player of the Year and the like. In fact, it's the Player of the Year awards tomorrow night at the Enshire, which you'll be going to.
Yeah. So it should be a big night for the club. It's obviously the Foundation's recognition night as well. So it'll be great to hear and see all the different stories and successes from across the club. So yeah, should be good.
I know. So awards being handed out there, obviously, but we thought we'd have our own Falkirk Daft Award and get our Player of the Season. We'll maybe buy a wee trophy. Is there a trophy shop up the town now? There used to be one in the inn shops. There used to be a wee trophy shop in the inn shops.
That's definitely shut, but yeah. I'm sure there is. Is there not one? Remember where Austin's used to be?
Yeah.
There's one across the road for there, I'm sure. So we could have a look. We should have a look.
We'll get a wee trophy, a wee Falkirk Daft trophy, but we need to award it to a player. Now, who that player is, we're going to ask you on our socials this week to nominate, and then we'll take the short list of 4, and then we'll get you to vote on who the Falkirk Player of the Season has been. Ross, who is it for you?
It's changed actually, mate. I for weeks and weeks and weeks, I've obviously been singing the praises of Leo McCann, but he's went a little bit off the boil, unfortunately, in the last few months. It's a toughie, if I'm being honest, mate.
At one point it was Callum Morrison all the way. But over the last couple of months, Callum's just come completely off it. But then on the other hand, Kai Kennedy's come flying through, in the last couple of months as well. Yeah,
no, he has. Listen, there's been a few contenders over the, as you say, Callum Morrison was probably it for months and months, and then he's kind of fell off the radar. Kai Kennedy's done a lot of good in the last few months as well, so it kind of puts him in there. Do you know what? I'm gonna go with a consistent player for me, regardless of position that he's played in, and I'm gonna go by Big Hendo, Liam Henderson.
Wow, do you know what? I was going to say the exact same thing. I was actually going to say the exact same thing because I think he's went under the radar a bit. We've seen obviously the patches from Morrison, the patches from Kennedy. Stephen McGinn, you can maybe throw him in. He started the season unbelievably. Had a wee bit of, we talked about having a bit of drop in form, I guess, after his baby was born. But again, on Saturday, he was unbelievable. I thought it was outstanding. But yeah, I think I've got to go for, he started off the season injured, Hendo. And he's come into the side, and whether he's been playing centre-half or into midfield, which I think he's done really, really well and done a great job in there. I think I might have to go with Hendo as well.
I would, John. He's been Mr. Consistent, really, wherever he's played. If I'm being honest, I would push him back into centre half for the playoffs. I think defensively we're looking all over the place now, and he was a consistent player there. He's done brilliantly in midfield, but we've got midfield players that could probably come in and do his job. So
the problem is, I think you'd miss him in midfield. But I know what you're saying.
I know.
I mean, centre half at the moment, I think we're struggling a wee bit.
We are.
Certainly,
Donald Cole's going through huge bouts of idiotness, and Brad Mackay's doing okay in the most, but again, he has the odd moment as well, doesn't he? So I don't know. It's a worry for the playoffs, if I'm being honest with the defence.
Yeah, and Leon McCann as well. I mean, I got to mention, like you say, he's dropped off a wee bit, but he was certainly, he was early parts of the season and up to mid-season, getting forward, getting balls into the box, and defending really, really well. Always making himself available. He's definitely a shout as well. But listen, what we'll do this week, me and Ross have both said Hendo. What we'll do is put it out there to you guys. Tell us who you think your player of the season is. We'll give them the Falkirk Daft Rated Award. I don't think we'll do a Falkirk Dafty on this one, Ross, because I think we might get punched in the face.
Yeah, well,
maybe do that. We can maybe do. I tell you what, we can maybe do that. Off air. We won't give the recipient the winner of the award, but we certainly will put to an award for Falkirk Daft Rated of the season.
The thing is, though, we could do it towards the end of a match and say it's Ryan Williamson. He'll already be away home looking for a cuddle from his mum. So if Ryan gets it, we'll just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Right, listen, we'll watch out on our socials. Get voting on your or get nominating your player of the season, and we'll give them the Falkirk Daft Rated. So keep an eye on the socials for all that, and we'll make that happen this week. Right, cool. And here comes.
This is Falkirk Daft.
So every week in Falkirk Daft, we like to look ahead to our opponents, and this week's opponents. Final league game of the season, and it's a bit of a dead rubber. And from the Blue Toon podcast, I spoke to him a few times over the season. It's Colin Byers. How are you, Colin?
Yeah, not too bad. You?
Well, I think we're kind of both in the same situation. Obviously, Peterhead relegated there at the weekend. I think that was just the final nail in the coffin, though. And then we're obviously coming off the back of a cup semi-final defeat. So I think both of us aren't entirely happy at the moment, I don't think.
I think this will be the least enthusiastic section of the podcast this week.
I know. Yes, absolutely. Because, I mean, like I say, we're going into this game. We've guaranteed second. You, unfortunately, have been relegated down into League Two. Just overall, Colin, before we get into the actual game on Saturday, how has the season been for a Peterhead supporter this season?
Oh, it's been dire. It's you can imagine how bad you thought a season could go. This has just been 10 times worse. At no point has there been a part of the season where you thought, well, we've turned a corner here, or we think we're going to get out or anything like that. We just simply haven't been good enough from start to finish. There has been a little bit of turn around in terms of performances under the new management team in the last 6 or 7 games, but it was already sort of done and dusted. It was just waiting for the inevitable before they come in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've had 2 management changes with Jim McInally and both Davy Robertson, being sacked from the club. So Ryan Strachan and Jordan Brown, are they going to be there for next season as a permanent management team, or are they just interim?
Yeah, no, they were announced on Tuesday last week, I think it was, that they were going to get the job permanently. So basically, their first official game was on Saturday. Their second one will be on Saturday against Falkirk, and then they've already got plans in place for the recruitment for next season, which is good to see. So hopefully we get a good start next season, and hopefully they continue on with the good mentality, the good vibes that they've brought in so far.
Has that been the difference then, the mentality and the kind of atmosphere they brought to the club, or have you noticed that difference on the park as well?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, you look at the players that particularly David Robertson brought in January. Just you could see they just weren't interested. They were sort of moseying about the park, not really putting any effort in. Even somebody like Josh Oyunson, who under the two guys have really sort of turned around. He's put the effort in now, and to the point where some of the supporters are actually saying he deserves a contract for next season. He's doing that well. But they've sort of gone back to the players who Robertson simply thought wasn't good enough, like Sir Jack Browns and players like that, and he's brought them back into the team, and it seems to have helped. And that's the kind of guys that we're looking for. And as you'll know, any team, any supporter of a team, you're just looking for a bit of effort. If you didn't get the effort, they're going to turn on you pretty quick. And that's what all we were looking for, was a bit of effort. We wasn't getting that before, but we're getting it now.
Yeah, I mean, the last time we obviously paid Peterhead was at home, was when Craig McGuffey came off the bench and scored a hat-trick and scored one from the halfway line. But I did notice on the day, I mean, obviously, I thought that's the poorest I've seen a Peterhead side. They were huge, so the team that obviously went out in the park that day were absolutely massive.
Yeah, that was the players, the sort of profile that Robertson seemed to like. He seemed to think that to get out of this situation, we needed big, burly players, but they just weren't putting any effort into it at all. I mean, the joking around Daniel Fosu is he's a big guy, but when he jumps for a bar, you can put a fag paper underneath his boots because he just doesn't put any effort into it at all.
Yeah,
and he's sort of been he's been dropped to the side recently as well, but. I think the 5-0 fold up to the 7-0 at Airdrie was kind of the final nail in Robertson's coffins.
Yeah, I mean, there has obviously been a slight change, and the form has picked up slightly, but just a bit too late on in the season to save you from finishing last there. Dead rubber this weekend. Do you suspect changes from in the Peterhead side? Do you think he'll?
I'd like to think so. I mean, I think that the team that played in Setter, they would probably much pick itself. We do have players that have been on the bench that you'd maybe like to see get a game. Like John Allen, who's signed up for next season, hasn't really played a lot since he's joined for Shetland. So I'd like to see him get a game, get a run, see what he's all about, because obviously he's going to be there next season. So maybe one or two changes. But it's one of those games where the result really doesn't matter. It's just a case of just sending us home happy and looking forward to next season.
Yeah, of course. And what do you think next season? I mean, back into League Two for the first time in a while, actually. How do you fancy your chances of getting back out there and into League One?
Genuinely, I think we have to kind of push for fourth or higher. Obviously, playoff place minimum is what we'd hope for, without sort of really knowing who's going to be in the league yet, because of their playoffs and things like that, and even the bottom end as well, that's still to be sorted out. Whoever's got to finish Club 42. But I think with the clubs that's there, without sort of sounding overly cocky, I think we should take most of them on. It'll just depend on, whether Dumbarton or East Fife and stay in the league. That might be the guys to kind of look out for.
Yeah, do you fancy Clyde's chances in the playoffs or against those League Two sides?
I think if Clyde were to stay up, I think that they would find themselves really lucky, but I think they could probably end up getting relegated as well. I would fancy them against Dumbarton, but I think East Fife, maybe Annan, might be too strong for them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Predictions for Saturday then, Colin?
I will go for a highly unentertaining 0-0.
Straight now, a 0-0. That's probably how it'll end up. I think we're going to have a big Falkirk performance after Saturday. So I'm hoping going into the playoffs, we need to pick up a bit of form. So I'm hoping for a wee 3-0 for the Bairns, but we'll wait and see. Colin, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you over the season. It might be a wee while till our podcast reunite again with us, hopefully being in the championships and you being in League Two, but we shall wait and see. Maybe a cup game, you never know.
You never know. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Thanks, Colin. Cheers now.
This is Falkirk Daft.
So that is it for this week's Falkirk Daft. Thank you very much for listening, as you've done all season. We really appreciate it. And thanks to everyone I met a few people who listened to the podcast in the pub and in the train and on the way out. So thanks very much. We really appreciate you all coming up and saying you actually enjoy listening to it, which makes it all the way worthwhile. You can get us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. You can also watch the video version on YouTube if you fancy that. Follow us on socials on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at Falkirk Daft. We've got some merch as well. Again, thanks to everyone who bought the bucket hats. You can still get your bucket hats ahead of the playoffs. They're a night bowl, but we've got more merch if you head to shop.spread. In fact, it's merch at falkirkdaft.co.uk, merch at falkirkdaft.co.uk. You will be able to... Actually, merch.falkirkdaft.co.uk. That even makes more sense. Merch.falkirkdaft.co.uk. You can buy all sorts of things, hoodies. Dog bandanas have become very popular. We've sold about 3 dog bandanas. So there's 3 dogs kicking about Falkirk with a Falkirk Daft dog bandanas. If you see any of those dogs, please take a picture of them. But you get all sorts, baby grows, the full shebang. You'll get it all at merch.falkirkdaft.co.uk. Please sign up for that. And actually, we've got 15% off up there between the 6th and the 11th of May. So if you want 15% off everything you buy on our merch store, you can do that. Again, merch.falkirkdaft.co.uk. You're not making it to Peterhead, Ross, no?
No. I'm going to save my time, money, and energy for the playoff away game on the Tuesday, John. So I've got a very busy weekend ahead. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to watch it via Luxembourg and Lewis TV. But if I can, I will. But I just hope we go up there and, as you say, we score a few goals. I'd probably love the goals to come from someone like Jordan Allen, who's not had much game time. And if we could get him kind of firing, let's make the changes that we need to make. That was a cracking shout with Scott about like the wee lad Pierce Carroll. If he's on the fringe, give him game time. Mackey will get game time.
I think Mackey and Watson start them at centre half. See if they can provide a bit of solidity.
Tell you what, see if PJ comes in, which I think he will, and he has a strong game, keep him in for the playoffs. That's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, it does. It's a decent shout. I think get Ola in, because we all know what a maverick. You saw him when he came on. He's just an absolute maverick. You don't know what you're going to get from him. And just get Ola on, give him a game. I think Jordan Allen, let's get some confidence in him, get him started. Morrison's so off the boil at the moment. Definitely, I don't know who you bring in his position. I think maybe just a whole formation change is maybe required. Just going with that for the diamond and losing Morrison from that team and maybe starting Jordan Allen and Burrow, or Jordan Allen and Gary Oliver up front together and see how they do with that. But wholesale changes and hopefully a big win for the Bairns. Like I was speaking to Colin, as you heard there, and it's just a dead rubber. It's just a dead rubber. So the result doesn't matter in ways, but you want to go into the playoffs with a bit of momentum behind you. So fingers crossed, and we'll be back next week looking ahead to the playoffs and obviously looking back at Peterhead. But we're almost coming to the end of the season. We've got some massive games ahead of us, Ross. And we've also got packages, sponsorship packages, if you want to get involved. I'd love to hear from you. We've got a special bundle that you can do, the playoff bundle. We're reducing our rates for the episode, so if you want to get in touch with that, we've got a special bundle that you can get in touch with us. Just drop us an email. You can do that, sales@falkirkdaft.co.uk. We'll pick up your email and we'll give you a great price on the last. We could be doing 3 episodes, it could be 2. We'll wait and see. But
see how the team does. That'll determine that. But 3 would be nice.
It could be 4. I think we should, if we go up, we're definitely having a big celebration.
Oh, well, that's true, actually.
That's true. I think, an end-of-season review as well, Ross. I think we'll have to do that no matter what the result is, and just look back across the season as a whole. But listen, thanks so much for listening to Falkirk Daft. Really appreciate your time. And as usual,
expect the unexpected.